Hello everybody, Castrick Bowcraft here today. This video is going to show you how I shoot short bows. Here's a couple of three short bows that I've made, one of which I'm actually in the process of making. I haven't worked on it in a while because I've been busy making other bows, but eventually I'm going to finish making that one. But the top bow here is a 54-inch bow. It's got like a 24-inch draw, 55 pounds at 24 inches. The center bow is a 47-inch bow, and it'll probably, by the time I'm done with it, maybe have like a 20-inch, 21-inch draw. I'm shooting for 55 pounds on that one. And the first bow here is actually a 36-inch bow. It's the first sinew back bow that I've ever made. I wanted to make a short bow, and since it was so short, I wanted to sinew back it, obviously. But I didn't want to spend a lot of time or use a lot of sinew for these longer bows to make a longer bow. So since it was such a short bow, and I knew it had to be sinew, it's also the first bow that I ever put sinew on the back of. And I've had this bow now for several years, and it pulls 50 pounds at 15 inches. And I don't shoot it very often, but it is a fun little bow to shoot. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be shooting that bow with a 54-inch bow and this little 36-inch bow, and I'll show you how I shoot a short bow. It's not the same as you shoot with a long bow because of the, it's a floating anchor. But you may not be able to see it a lot on this bow, but on this bow you'll definitely see the techniques that I use to shoot it. Now, they might not be authentic ways of shooting these bows. There's different types of string, the way you hold the string and things like that, but these are the ways that I shoot them because it's the only way that I know how. So I'll turn the camera off and then I'll turn it back on again when I get the camera set up, and I'll show you how to go about shooting a short bow. Okay, so I have the camera set up. So basically when you're shooting a short bow, it's a little bit more challenging than shooting a long bow, because on a short bow they have what's called a floating anchor. In other words, on a long bow or a recurve bow or any longer type bow that allows for a longer draw length, there's usually enough draw length in the bow to reach an anchor point. And everybody knows that the key to accuracy with a bow is to be as consistent in your shooting setup as you can be. And with an anchor point, it allows you to draw the string back to the same position all the time, and it allows, at least for that point of view, a consistent anchor point, so you can make a consistent shot. Now with a short bow, since the bows are shorter, you're not able to pull, in a lot of cases, depending on what your draw length is, you're not able to pull the string back to an anchor point because the shorter bow does not allow you to have a longer draw. Now this short bow is a 54-inch bow. The maximum draw length on this particular bow is 24 inches. And it just so happens that I can actually achieve a 24-inch draw length with this particular bow, but some of you who have longer draw lengths than me may not. So basically what you would do with this bow is have what's called a floating anchor point. And basically when with a floating anchor, actually the way that I shoot a bow that has a floating anchor, and we'll shoot this in that manner, I won't anchor it to my mouth. But basically what you're doing, as I said in a previous video, you're just drawing the bow back slowly, and as you're feeling that string just ripping from your fingers, you're letting it go. Now, having a floating anchor does not allow you to have a consistent anchor point for every shot, but with practice, you're able to pull the bow back and be able to have, with practice, that certain feel that one would get when it's the proper time to release the string. So, I don't know if that makes any sense. But here you go again. You'll notice that when I'm pulling the string back, I'm pulling it back, and as I'm feeling that string just pulling from my fingers, or it feels as though it's not going to be pulling any further, I just relax my hand and just pull it back in line with the flight of the arrow. So from here, I'm just relaxing my hand. So here we go again. And you can see how that kind of works. What I'm going to be doing also too is how you can actually achieve a anchor point without necessarily pulling the bow all the way back to your normal anchor point. And basically the way I do that is, rather than, I don't know if you can see that or not, but rather than pulling my finger to my normal anchor point, what I'll do, I'll use the end of my thumb here, my thumb knuckle, and just pull it to that. You can see that I've gained probably about 2 inches, or I guess in this case I would lose 2 inches of draw length, and I would be able to pull a shorter bow back. So we'll do that right now. And basically what I'm doing, I'm going to be pulling the bow back and touching my anchor, my touch point with the back end of my thumb. And although I'm holding the strings right here, you can see it's about 2.5 inches or so of draw length that I'm reducing so that I can shoot this short bow with an actual anchor point. So here we go. I'm just going to touch the bottom of my thumb to my normal anchor point as I shoot. You can see that I kept my hand there just so you could see that. But anyway, so that's the way that I do that. I'm going to get the shorter bow now, the 36-inch bow, and show you how I go about shooting that one. But basically it's the same thing, but we'll pull those arrows out and get the short bow out. Okay, so I got the short bow. This is only a 36-inch bow. They did make them in that length. The only difference between a really short bow and a normally longer or long bow than this is that it tends to be wider. So your arrow spine will have a lot more to do with accuracy than it would typically a near center shot or a bow with a narrowed handle. So you can see that that bow's fairly wider than the other bows. But with this bow, no matter how much you try, you will probably not achieve an anchor point of any kind when you're shooting this bow. You may be able to pull it to your chest, but even this particular bow has only got a 15-inch draw. So it's going to be very difficult to have any kind of anchor point with this bow as you're drawing it. So because of that, the way that I showed in the previous bow, the way you would shoot this bow would be the same as that. You pull the string back until you can't pull it any further. It's ripping from your hands, and you're just letting it go. Try to let it go with as smooth a release as you can. With the shorter bows, obviously, this is not the arrow to be using for this kind of bow. But their effective range is probably less than 15 yards or so. There are bows that are made in a lot better design than the ones that than this particular one. That people probably hunt with all the time, but for me, I probably would never ever take a shot at anything further than 10 to 15 yards with this thing. So here you go. I'm going to shoot this arrow out of this bow, and you can see. Hopefully, you'll be able to see how it's done. You can see that this arrow is pretty fast out of this bow. Again, it's a 50 pounds at 15 inches, and here's a little bit shorter arrow. We'll try this one. And it really whips them. The shorter the bow, the faster the arrow, but also too, the less accuracy it is because of the fact that you don't have a anchor point, and it's not as stable as a long bow. But with practice, it could be just as effective as a longer bow. So there you go. So that's how I shoot a short bow. No doubt, again, as in all the previous videos, I probably left something out, but basically it's more just just an instinctive, natural thing. There's really no big secret to shooting a short bow, which shorter bows are typically shot or used by, I don't really want to say, but more experienced bow hunters or people who are more experienced in archery because of the fact that it's not shot the same as a regular bow. This is an arrow that I made out of dogwood, and it's probably a little bit more than 3/8 inches long, and it's a very heavy arrow. So we'll do it with this and see. Again, I'm pointing the arrow right at the target, and I'm just pulling back and just letting it go naturally. So there you go. Anyway, sorry to ramble on, but that's how I shoot a short bow.